everybody, welcome back to the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast on the Fantasy Focused YouTube channel. I'm your host, Bobby Lamarco. Today, it's Wednesday. We're doing positional start sits. We're doing QB streamers, and I'm typically joined by my beloved co-host, Buck. Unfortunately, today, it's just Bob solo. I got bucked real bad. But unfortunately, life, we have to move on. And today, we'll be diving into all our positional start sits of the week. We'll also be talking a little bit about QB streamers, tight end streamers, and I got some kickers for you. The well-known kicker analysis is finally breaking through to the mainstream. I'm super excited. Talk a little defenses as well. And Thursday night football. If you're joining us on the actual YouTube page, this is once again the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast on the Fantasy Focused Network. Make sure you're following us, subscribing to our channels on the YouTube page. It's at Fantasy Focused. Make sure you're following us on all our platforms, streaming platforms. Make sure you're on Twitter. It's at Sky Gawasco, at Bobby Lamarco, at Fantasy Focused. On Instagram, for example, it's at Fantasy Football X Factor for me, at the Candlestick Kids for Sky. And also we have Jordan Della Valle. We have Buck59, all those guys. Follow them on Twitter across the board and Fantasy Focus on Instagram. Lot to follow, lot to keep up with, folks. But don't worry. You're going to find us somewhere. You're just going to trip and fall right into some YouTube or some fantasy focused content somewhere with the Candlestick Kids. We're all good. So before we dive into all of our positional start sits, we're going to do a little intro for our brand new sponsor, which is our segment today is brought to you by our Thursday Night Football preview. Of course, it's going to be brought to you by our Sunday live show. And every Sunday live this year, we've been going on at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern every Sunday to do starts and sits. Myself, Buck, Jordan, Ryan, you got, Sky. We're all together for 3 straight hours. And we have partnered with one of our brand new sponsors this year, and it's Good Sports. And Good Sports is a charity organization that actually helps underprivileged communities provide equipment to allow kids to play sports. So 10% of all our donations from our super chat, 10% of every donation we get through the TCK Pod Venmo now goes to Good Sports. We're excited to announce that we raised nearly $1,000 last month for the October. So we ended up donating $100 to Good Sports. We're excited to say that we did be able to donate $100 this month. And that's really going to go a long way. So we're hoping to build on that. Make sure you're joining us on Sunday Live. Hey, if you want to get your questions expedited, you just throw us $1. Boom. You just hit a loophole. You get your questions answered right away. But if you just want to enjoy the show, it's more than just positional start. It's more than just start sits. It's just entertainment, folks. So make sure you're joining us there every Sunday live. Now let's talk a little bit about this Thursday Night Football preview. And, this game kind of gives you a little bit of mixed emotions, right? We have the Jets, Mike White coming off this big performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. You have Carson Wentz coming off a very good day versus the Tennessee Titans. Now we're on the short week, playing a 45.5 over under. The Colts are favored by 10.5. So the Mike White fluke win against the Bengals, well, Vegas ain't buying it. They're giving 10.5 points to the Colts in this one. Some key injuries, Tevin Coleman, Zach Wilson will still be out. Corey Davis is doubtful. Some defensive players, defensive tackle and linebacker for the Jets are still out. On the Colts side, you're dealing with the safety, Justin Blackmon. He's on IR. One of their defensive tackles is out as well. But it looks like T.Y. Hilton is, after getting some full practices in, he looks like he might play. It's just impossible to rely on T.Y. Hilton anymore. Obviously, he can't stay healthy in a game, but running through these guys individually for this matchup. Now, Mike White was the main start. Last week, he was awesome, 400 yards. But there's a couple things that bother me about Mike White's performances. Number one, 19 targets to running backs, and he didn't attempt a single pass over 20 yards. So he was not challenging defenses downfield. The Bengals allowed him to just check it down to Crowder, check it down to his running backs. They got a bunch of yards after the catch, and they nickeled and dimed their way all the way back into that football game. Now, hey, you take what you can get, and it worked out. The Colts are one of the best defenses against pass-catching running backs. So I just don't see Mike White being able to just dink and dunk. And so for Mike White, listen, the matchup isn't bad. Like, he is going to be featured later in one of my segments as a potential streamer. But at the same time, I personally am interested in a QB Superflex league. I probably won't start him. I probably want to see if this whole thing is legit, because the way he got that production last week doesn't seem like it's going, like the Colts are not going to just let him dump 19 targets to his running backs and let them get, 200 yards receiving. It's not going to work. In that linebacking core, it's just not going to happen. So I picked him up in my super flex league. I am not starting him, though. I want to see how it goes again against Colts on the short week. Michael Carter, if you listen to our player trend show every Saturday, I've been talking up Michael Carter for about a month now. I've been talking about how the trend of his usage is going up. The production will come. Well, it came to fruition last week. He completely dominated. He was the RB1 on the week, which is just absolutely amazing, right? Because Cincinnati's been very good against running backs this year. This week, he's got an interesting matchup against the Colts, who are, they are beatable on the ground. But like I just touched about, they are tough against pass-catching running backs. So, I think Michael Carter is, when you really evaluate who's on bye this week, right? Leonard Fournette, Chris Carson, Alex Collins, DeAndre Swift is out this week. And then the last team with Seattle, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and I'm blanking on the last one. I don't know why. There's another team on bye. But yeah. Let me just look this up right now, because I actually can't remember who's on bye. It is, all right, whatever. There's a fourth team on bye. I don't remember. Someone will remind me later in the comments. But anyway, there's a couple notable running backs that are out, and Michael Carter does fill that void. He is slowly becoming the primary running back. He actually ran a boatload more routes than Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson was involved. He caught his own touchdown, but it was Michael Carter's backfield out of the bye. I am buying him rest of season. We've been buying him for weeks now, so that's good news. So he is startable this week as a low-end RB2 because of some of those notable running backs that are out. Jamison Crowder is the next guy. Now, the Colts are an out-wide funnel defense. They have been very good over the last 5 weeks against slot receivers. They are not good against perimeter receivers. That's not what Crowder makes his bank. I think this makes Crowder a very fringe wide receiver 3 this week. I am not excited to start Jamison Crowder, even though he did very well against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. He got you that 8 for 80, very solid PPR day. I am not going out of my way to start Jamison Crowder this week because of that tough slot matchup against the Colts. Jumping down, I think outside of that, listen, if you're looking for DFS single game slate dart throws, the perimeter receivers, you have Denzel Mims ran the most routes and dropped a touchdown last week. He only saw 3 targets. He caught 2 of them for 30 yards. He dropped a touchdown. We might be viewing him a lot differently this week if he catches that touchdown. Eliza Moore was a part-time player. He played behind Keelan Cole. He played behind Jamison Crowder. He ran less routes than Tyler Kroft, but he saw 6 targets for 60 yards. He obviously gets targeted when he's on the field, but I don't like banking on part-time players. So if you're going to take a dart throw on DK, he's Denzel Mims is the guy I'm putting in my lineup this week, $2,000. So for that price point, let's get some Denzel Mims in our lives. He's getting all the work with Corey Davis looking out this week. Let's jump down to the Colts. I think Carson Wentz is me and Buck. I have Buck's list of potential starts of the week and his positional starts and sits, so we'll talk through Buck's. But Carson Wentz, we have a mutual agreement that against the Jets, looks good. If T.Y. Hilton comes back and plays, that's a boost. It's only beneficial to have a full slate of Hilton and Wentz, Pittman and Zach Pascal all in the lineup together. So personally, I think that my opinion is that T.Y. Hilton, not too bad. Not going to play him, but I think it's good for Carson Wentz. I think he is a solid streamer if you have one of those main quarterbacks that are out this week, like a Jared Goff, if you're dominating with Jared Goff. All right, let's talk about Jonathan Taylor. Listen, JT, auto start. He's the captain's captain seat. The Jets are very susceptible to running backs in general, but they also allow a lot of passing game work to running backs too. JT ran a bunch of routes last week against the Tennessee Titans. I'm feeling JT, put him in the captain spot. It seems kind of a lock. He's an auto start. Naheem Hines is someone that's interesting. I know the game flow might suggest that it might not work out for him, but the Jets are the worst against expectation. So I factored in who they've played versus expectation. The Jets are the worst against pass-catching running backs. Joe Mixon had a very nice game last week in the passing game as well. I think that Nyheim Hines, if you're in a pinch, if you are DeAndre Swift over to Leonard Fournette and you need that RB3, if you're still banged up at the running back position, Nyheim Hines in PPR formats should be okay this week. He does see a decent amount of targets in the pass game. Finally, it's Michael Pittman. And similar to the Jamison Crowder situation, the Jets are very good against perimeter wide receivers. We just saw it with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase was shut down for the first time this year. He did save his day with the fantasy touchdown, but Jamar Chase was dominating he's dominating Marlon Humphrey, and then he plays the Jets and he gets 30 yards receiving. So Michael Pittman is a lock and loaded like wide receiver 3 range guy because of the target volume, but the matchup's not good for him. T. Higgins did break off some long catches last week. He got 97 yards receiving. So similar sized receiver, type of receiver as Pittman, I guess you could say. So maybe Pittman I think Pittman's still a good wide receiver 3 this week, but the matchup is not really great for him. So overall, not too excited for Pittman, but I still will put him in my lineups as a wide receiver 3 in this game. All right, guys. Well, really, I know we always talk through, me and Buck last week went through our DraftKings lineup. And just to stay on brand for you, my DraftKings lineup this week is Jonathan Taylor, DK. I did Jonathan Taylor in my captain spot. Michael Badgley, which we'll talk about in a second. Kicker, got him in. Nyheim Hines, Denzel Mims, Carson Wentz, and Mike White. So went to 2 quarterbacks. Denzel Mims is my deep sleeper. It cost $2,000. Got Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor in that captain spot. Now, listen, JT's the most expensive player in the slate. So to put him in the captain spot, you have to pay up. So might make sense to move him out, put him in the regular spot because you save a lot of money. I'll have to look at that. But right now, that's what I got in my lineup for DraftKings. We'll see if the Badgley call works out. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. But that's our Thursday Night Football breakdown. I think the auto start, Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz, a streamer. Solid start at the quarterback position. I think Michael Pittman, wide receiver 3, sleeper Denzel Mims and Eliza Moore on the outside. Crowder, PPR, wide receiver 4 at best. Nyheim Hines, sleeper and PPR. Michael Carter still a borderline RB2, even in a tougher matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. But that's what we got today for Thursday Night Football. Now, before we move on and go to our positional reviews, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll talk a little bit about our latest sponsor, Care Factor. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, TCK Potters and Fantasy Focus community. Are you looking for options for hair loss? There are many options out there for treating it. However, most products treat the cause, such as DHT, and don't do much to support the growth of new and stronger hair. It's like removing harmful weeds from your lawn, but not doing much to fertilize the grass. That's why the Fantasy Focus and TCK team has partnered with Care Factor. Care Factor saw this problem and focused their research on finding just the right combination of biosynthetic growth factors and an innovative delivery system to promote fuller, stronger looking hair. So whether you're a listener who suffers from various forms of alopecia or even stress-related hair loss, the Care Factor treatment is the perfect scalp-friendly solution that can help and influence stronger and healthy hair throughout all stages of the hair life cycle. And now, exclusively for TCK listeners, use the promo code TCK at checkout to get 15% off all products at shop.mycarefactor.com. That's shop.mycarefactor.com. Care Factor, skincare for hair.
That's Care Factor, folks. Listen, really good site. Check them out. They have a great shampoo, conditioner, help grow thinner, stronger hair. Also got the great bristles. Go check them out at shop.mycarefactor.com. Let's talk about positional start sits of the week, brought to you by Care Factor. Now, Buck's not here, but because I am a man of the people, I made sure to get Buck's picks, and we'll talk through Buck's starts, streamers, fades, and stuff like that. So, right off the bat, let's talk about Buck's QB fade of the week, and it's Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan is now going to be down Calvin Ridley. He's throwing to guys like Tajay Sharp and Russell Gage. He's got Kyle Pitts, but he's got the Saints this week. Now, we'll talk about the Saints in a little bit, about why I'm high on them as a defense, but really when it comes down to it, it's Matt Ryan. It's very simple. We saw what the Saints were able to do to Tom Brady. And I think that's what Buck's thought process behind why Matt Ryan is a fade this week. Listen, he has no Calvin Ridley, no Julio, of course, gone. Yeah, I don't think Matt Ryan is really even a holding single QB leagues. So I agree with Buck on this one. My QB fade is actually someone a little bit spicier. Bomb banana hot sauce spice. And it's Jalen Hurts. Now, when I look at Hurts, it's the Chargers defense is absolutely dominant. It has nothing to do with his performance last week because whatever. They dominated the Detroit Lions. There was 4 rushing touchdowns and none went to him. They did not have to throw at all. So I'm not even factoring that in. What I really am worried about is how dominant the Chargers defense has been this year against quarterbacks. And one game in particular sticks in my mind. It's the Lamar Jackson game. So Lamar Jackson faced the Chargers earlier in the year. You know, Jalen Hurts, who can argue is kind of a poor man's version of Lamar Jackson. He threw for 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs, rushed the ball for 51 times, and he had 17 points, finishing outside the top 12 that week. That kind of production is what I see kind of in the cards for Jalen Hurts. I think the thing with Hurts, for my opinion, his upside is probably a nice 20 points. But I think his floor is like the 11 to 13 range again. That's what worries me about Jalen Hurts, is because I don't think he's going to have that big blow-up game against a very good Chargers DST. But the Chargers DST did suffer some injuries. I think Michael Davis. So we'll look at that throughout the week. Check back in with me on Saturday's show to see if there's any updates to the secondary, because I know Asante Samuel and Michael Davis suffered injuries on Sunday. But we'll look at that. But I think Hurts is someone that I am actually kind of fading this week, especially in DFS, because of the matchup. Because, first of all, the Chargers allowed the second fewest points to quarterbacks in general, and what they did to Lamar Jackson is why they're a QB fade. Now, on the flip side, of quarterbacks that we're kind of excited about, and me and Buck do agree on this one, it's Carson Wentz. Buck sent me his list. It's Carson Wentz. My pick is Carson Wentz as well. So the Jets have allowed the 5th most points to the quarterback position over the last 5 weeks. Pro Football Doc has, and I always recommend, listen, Pro Football Doc is a great resource. Now, go on to Pro Football Doc, and they actually show you 6 scores. They also show you, like, the health of a player, red, yellow, green. Carson Wentz was updated to the green for the first time all year, so he's healthy. Now, if he gets T.Y. Hilton back with Michael Pittman, Zach Pascal, you know, the tight end situation, he's got 2 good running backs. The Jets have allowed the 5th most points over the last 5 weeks to quarterbacks, but Carson Wentz is a top 10 QB in points per game over that span as well. So you factor that in along with the matchup. Listen, Mike White showed a lot last week. Mike White showed that even without Corey Davis against the Bengals, who are a very decent defense. Now, do I think he's going to be blown up? No, but at the same time, I think he's able to make the game flow better than we expect, which is going to force Carson Wentz to produce. And I think that makes Carson Wentz a solid streamer, especially for the teams that have a Tom Brady this week that is on bye. Now, another player that Buck likes is Tua. The Dolphins are coming off a game where they faced the Buffalo Bills. I don't think anybody really expected much from the Buffalo Bills, but now they get the Houston Texans. I think a lot of us are starting to see what we thought about earlier in the year when we saw basically we thought the Jaguars in week 1, they were just going to come out and steamroll the Houston Texans. Instead, Tyrod Taylor looks good. The defense looks all right. But instead, the Texans are now kind of becoming a doormat. They have really kind of been exposed over the last few weeks. And Tua's looked pretty good. He's actually shown a lot, even in tough matchups against the Buffalo Bills. He showed a little chemistry with Devonte Parker last week. So I think that Buck feels that Tua in a plus matchup, because of how well he's playing, could be a streamer. I think we both agree that Wentz is the guy we'd go with. But if you are the Tom Brady owner, if you are someone that is needing a quarterback this week, I think it's not. Oh, Washington football team. That's who it is. Washington football team is the 4th team. Look at that. I knew I would get it. And then, so if you're streaming Taylor Heineke in a 2 QB league, I think Tua this week is not a solid, not a bad play either. Moving on to the next position, which is running backs. So for Buck, he goes Denver running backs. Now, I understand that at this point, it's getting very difficult to predict these guys. Now, listen, I know everyone wants Javonte to be the guy, and I get it, but it's just, we've talked about this over and over again. It's a 50-50 split. And when it comes down to it, are we going to know which drive is going to be the one that Javonte's in? And is that when they get to the red zone and score? I don't know. So I understand where he's coming from, but the Dallas run defense is not really that scary. I think that the Melvin Gordon probably, to me, is still the best fantasy option. He's getting the more advantageous running game looks. He's seeing more of the goal line stuff. He is getting more of the pass game work. So I would actually not be opposed to starting Melvin Gordon if you're in a pinch this week, especially for the Swift Fournette owner, the Gibson owner that's been starting that train wreck, McKissick and all those guys overall. So I think I get where he's coming from there. My guy's Chase Edmonds. Yeah, and I've been a huge proponent of Chase Edmonds, but the San Francisco 49ers have been very good against running backs in general, but they're also very good versus expectation. So they have allowed the second fewest points to running backs, but they also have allowed the fourth fewest versus expectation this season. So they are a very tough matchup for running backs in general. And Edmonds, I know he scored last week, but he doesn't find the end zone a lot. He might get you a nice day overall, but if he's in a tough matchup for pass catching running backs and running backs in general, I just think that Chase Edmonds this week might be someone that you view more as a RB3 flex than your typical RB2 he's been this season, just because of San Francisco and how dominant they've been against running backs this year. On the flip side, listen, for guys that you could start, Buck has A.J. Dillon and Nyheim Hines. Now, I think the Dillon call against the Chiefs was before Rodgers went out. But we'll get Buck's thoughts on Sunday Live. But Dillon has a great matchup against that Kansas City run defense that can't stop anybody. But I think the Jordan Love situation kind of makes this one a little sketchy. But Nyheim Hines is a good one. I mean, no one allows more points versus expectation for running backs in the pass game than the Jets. They get torched. So I think that from that perspective, Nyheim Hines could have he could find his way to a nice 6 catches for 50 yards and a great PPR day, throwing a couple carries and bada bang, a little bomb banana, and then you got yourself a great recipe for fantasy gold in PPR formats. My guy's Boston Scott. Now, the matchup this week is good. It's my 4th best matchup on the week against the Chargers. The Chargers are terrible against running backs. Damian Harris last week would have had an even bigger day if he didn't have a touchdown called back by a holding call and another 20-yard plus running back carry called back. Now, what that tells me is that, listen, Boston Scott, I know at the end of the game, it looked like it was Boston Scott got 12, Jordan Howard got 12, Kenny Gainwell got 12 carries. That's not what happened. In the first half of that game, when it was relatively close, Scott got 9 carries, Howard got 4, Gainwell got 1. Scott got 9 carries, and Miles Sanders never got 9 carries in the first half. He barely got 9 carries in games, but they gave the ball to Boston Scott 9 times in that game in the first half, which tells me he's still the lead ball carrier. In a game that's probably going to be a lot more competitive, I do see that Boston Scott could be a nice play this week if you're looking for a start. He also was the only running back to see a target the first 3 quarters. So as much as we want Gainwell, and I think the Chargers game should be better game flow for Gainwell, and maybe Gainwell could be mixed in PPR because the Chargers are susceptible. But I think Boston Scott, because he's the primary ball carrier, I think that he might be able to get you some production, especially if you're hurting at running back. If you need a start, I think you could throw some weight behind Boston Scott this week as a RB3 flex if you need him. All right. Let's jump down to wide receivers. And Bucks wide receivers to fade this week: Devonta Smith, Michael Pittman. Interesting. I get the Michael Pittman call. The Jets have been really good against outside receivers. We kind of went over that. So I do see where he's come from. The other one's Devonta Smith. Yeah, he's got the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers have been really tough against receivers this season. And Smith really hasn't been good. And Dallas Goedert last week, man, oh man. I mean, he had 6 catches and Jalen Hurts completed 9 passes, which is like freaking insane, right? So from my perspective, I understand. Devonta Smith hasn't done anything, and he's not going to do it against the Chargers. But let's look out for those cornerback injuries, because if there's multiple injuries there, maybe that could be something that happens. Maybe that improves his matchup against backup corners on the outside. My receiver is Devonte Parker. Kind of goes hand in hand. And I'm sorry, I just lied to you. Why am I lying to you? My fade this week, is Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones got the Buffalo Bills. I don't think I need to really say that. I think this is a little obvious. I know there's a couple guys like Terry McLaurin's on by, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, some notable receivers, but I don't think Marvin Jones is going to get it done against the Buffalo Bills. And when you look at how the Bills have been against really good receivers, Tyreek Hill, 7 for 63. A.J. Brown, 7 for 91. Terry McLaurin, 4 for 62. Brandon Cooks, 5 for 47. So you can tell the pinnacle, A.J. Brown, 7 for 91. That's awesome. Solid day. That's a wide receiver, 2 numbers and half-point PPR. But then Terry McLaurin, Brandon Cooks, Tyreek Hill did not even put up top 24 receiving numbers on the week. So, yeah, I'm not feeling Marvin Jones. The other guy is Mike Williams. The Eagles this season have been very good against outside receivers. They do have some nice outside corners in Darius Slay and Nelson. But I think because of the injuries not the injuries, but the guys who are out this week, I actually am not going to go out of my way to sit Mike Evans. I think he's a wide receiver 3 this week because of the injuries, but he's someone that I'm not going to play in DFS. And I am wary of the matchup because 3 of his last 4 games, he's been under 5 fantasy points in half-point PPR. 3 of the last 4 games, under 5 points. That's crazy. On the flip side, let's get to the positive notes here. On the flip side, you have Buck goes with Hunter Renfrow and Devonte Parker. Me and him agree on Devonte Parker. I think Devonte Parker's a slam dunk this week. Playing the Houston Texans, second most points to outside receivers last week. He had 12 targets in that game. DJ Moore and Diggs over the last few weeks had over 100 yards against the Texans. Texans are not good against number 1 wide receivers. So I'm really feeling Devonte Parker. So is Buck. And that's Gumbers, baby. That's gut and numbers. That's Gumbers. That's the Gumbers start of the week brought to you by Bombadana. Okay? I don't even know if that's a thing, but they are a sponsor, and I threw them in there. But anyway, the other guy is Hunter Renfrow. The Henry Ruggs situation is big news. Hunter Renfrow has been regulated to a part-time player because it's been Ruggs and Edwards. Does this mean Zay Jones becomes the next player up, or does Hunter Renfrow now play in 2 receiver sets? Renfrow already offers you that great baseline, right? He offers that 5 for 50 baseline. He is involved especially when they're in good game flows. They get the Giants this week. The Giants are very good against perimeter receivers. Where you can beat the Giants is in the middle of the field. That's where Hunter Renfrow lives. So I get where Buck's coming from, and maybe because of the situation with Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow is now someone you want, especially in PPR formats. All right, before we jump into tight ends, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to go over to our one of our sponsors that you all know, Jersey Jungle. Be right back after this.
Are you a merchandise maniac or jersey junkie like myself? You need to check out the Jersey Jungle. They handle their business on Instagram at the Jersey Jungle. You can use a promo code TCK for 10% off of 1 or 2 jerseys, 15% off of 3 or more jerseys. Now, if you've been watching the show for this season or a couple seasons, you know that my backdrop, if you're streaming live with us on video, you know my backdrop is always a couple of jerseys. Those jerseys are coming from the Jersey Jungle. They're high quality stitch and twill jerseys. I collect NFL jerseys, but I'm also a baseball guy. So I have baseball jerseys as well. I collect Hall of Fame jerseys. I have a Jackie Robinson. I have a Ken Griffey Jr. I have a Willie Mays jersey. I got a Shohei Ohtani jersey as well because the guy has been absolutely on fire. Go get yourself a jersey. Basketball, baseball, hockey, football, college. They got rookies as well. Home, away. They have customs. They have camouflage. Whatever you're feeling, retro jerseys from any sport. Go hit up the Jersey Jungle on Instagram. DM the Jersey Jungle. Use the promo code TCK. for 10% off of 1 or 2 jerseys, 15% off of 3 jerseys. These are already half price that you're going to find on the websites. They're high quality, stitch and twill, game authentic jerseys. Go check them out. The Jersey Jungle on Instagram.
All right, it's Jersey Jungle, folks. Let's dive right back into our positional start sits. Now let's talk tight ends. So Buck is going on with Dalton Schultz, and I think it's the Broncos. I brought this up last week. Why I was fading Ricky Seals-Jones is because the Denver Broncos are pretty good against tight ends. But I think he's been very good with Dak. So I thought about Schultz too. And I get where he's coming from on this one. There is some notable guys. I mean, obviously the Tampa Bay situation has been in flux. But overall, T.J. Hawkinson and Ricky Seals-Jones are not available. Logan Thomas won't be available this week. But he should be back next week, which is good. Check your waiver wires for Logan Thomas. I made a big error, man. I got some guys in my leagues, man. They picked up Logan Thomas for free. That's on me. I should have been looking out for Logan Thomas. But anyway, so Dalton Schultz and Tyler Higbee were Bucks fades. And I get it. The thing with Tyler Higbee is that he's just not getting the looks. And he offers you kind of like this weird, boring baseline. He constantly gets you like 6 points and half-point PPR. And you know what? Like, my thing is, instead of playing this weird game where you're trying to figure out the other position, you're netting out probably like 2-3 points a week when other people are just dealing with the madness. But it's just, he's probably due for a touchdown. He's just always on the field. So I guess I'm stuck on Higbee. My guy is probably you're not going to sit. And I just saying this basically DFS and you're probably not going to have an opportunity to sit him. But if you're flux, if you have some dominant tight ends, it's Mark Andrews. And, the Vikings have really kind of turned it around defensively, but also because of the loss of Patrick Peterson, we saw last week, they have been absolutely destroyed by receivers. I mean, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb completely crushed them. Dalton Schultz, 2 for 11. But even prior weeks, TJ Hawkinson, 2 for 22. The Browns tight ends combined for 31 yards. So they've really, after an early season where they were getting dominated by Max XX Williams, they basically really turned it on against tight ends. So I think Mark Andrews is kind of like someone that, hey, don't pay up for it in DFS. Season long, you're starting them. It is what it is. Guys that were willing to start, I think Tyler Conklin, once again, I think he's really kind of fallen into this nice 5 for 50 range in good matchups. And I think that again, this week gets the Ravens, and the Ravens have been really good really good for tight ends. And it's been a solid matchup this season. So I think Tyler Conklin is another great start and probably someone you should probably play over Tyler Higbee. I would probably say I agree with that because his baseline's been better and he's got a much better matchup this week. So, Tyler Conklin's another great start. Probably someone I should have just kept riding with because I know I faded him after the first couple weeks, even though I was high in him preseason. Shame on me. The other guy has Mo Cox. Yeah, I'm sorry. He gave you an 0 for last week. Did have 5 targets, got no receptions. I don't understand the whole Mo Cox thing, but you're banking on, at that point, it's like a deep league. You're banking on a touchdown. Hey, maybe he gets one, he doesn't. But he's a part-time player. He gets usually 3 targets. Maybe 1 goes for a touchdown. Sure, it's possible. But even when he scores a touchdown, what does he get you? 10 points? It's just, I just don't see the upside. But hey, Buck's done it before. He's proven me wrong with the touchdowns for tight ends. My guy's Alberto. And if you don't know who Albert O is, he's the Denver Broncos backup tight end. And why I'm bringing him up is because Noah Fant is out this week. Noah Fant has COVID. Now, of course, we have to monitor this. But last week we talked about Pat Freiermuth. We talked about Jordan Akins, the tight end injuries. But now Albert O is going to be the primary tight end. He's going to be a full-time player. And the Cowboys defense has not been good against tight ends. I mean, you saw Conklin, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram all have solid performances overall versus this defense. So I think from my perspective, Albert O is someone that I actually am bold enough to start over Tyler Higbee, over Dalton Schultz, over guys that have been more consistent throughout the year because Albert O has been getting production behind Noah Fant, and he's looked really good. And I think that he's someone that you could start this week, get him in your DFS lineup, get him everywhere. He's going to be solid, and I think he's going to help people win some games this week overall. All right, those are our positional start sits brought to you by Care Factor. Now, before we go, we want to do a couple streamers. This is my streamer segment, and we're going to do some quick streamers. Before we get into all the streamers, I just want to go, our streamers and all our hot takes are brought to you by our sponsor, Bomb Banana. So we'll be back right after this.
Want to introduce you to our newest sponsor, Bomb Banana Hot Sauce. They're a brand new banana-based hot sauce founded by 4 University of Michigan grads. Shouts out to the Wolverines. Their sauce is an absolute must-have at any draft or watch party. Put it on nachos, pizza, wings, or literally any dip, and you will never be forced to eat boring party food again. I promise. The sweet heat and the chili banana combo provides a truly delicious restaurant-quality flavor. They currently offer 2 flavors, the original with the white label and the spicier muy muy that comes in the red label. I'm more of a mild guy, but if you like the spice, the muy muy is what you want. Be super excited to officially be part of the Bomba Nation, hashtag Bomba Nation. We hope that you'll join us there. Head over to the website, www.seekthespice.com. Use the discount code TCK at checkout to get 10% off of your order. Once again, Bomb Banana Hot Sauce, banana-based, not banana-flavored hot sauce. Seekthespice.com, promo code TCK.
All right, folks, let's do some streamers. It says QBs and tight ends, but I got some defenses. I got some kickers. I got kickers, folks, because kickers matter in your home leagues. If you're sick and tired of getting 4 points from a kicker, you're in the right place. That's what we do for you. QB deep, tight end. Let's do tight ends deep dives first. I don't think it gets deeper than Alberto. Go get Alberto. But if you need another guy, it's Jordan Akins, and I talked about him last week on my player trends show because Farrell Brown, the tight end he's been sharing work with, is out this week against Miami. Miami's is a winnable matchup for tight ends. Farrell Brown was out Wednesday, but we have to monitor his practice reports because if Farrell Brown's back, I'm not interested in Jordan Akins. But Jordan Akins probably another 5 for 50 day. Don't be surprised, as the Dolphins offense looks pretty good. Don't know why I said Dolphins, but anyway. QB deep dive. Mike White has a decent matchup against the Colts. I am wary of Mike White. I'll probably be wrong, but I'm fine with that. Just the weird way he got all his production seems strange. But if you're looking for just a crazy two QB quarterback and you need to start somebody, Mike White's better than you're probably a wide receiver 4 on your team. So I get it. So fine start. The other guy's Tyrod Taylor. We don't know if he's going to play yet. I get that. But I actually like his matchup against the Miami Dolphins if he does play. If you find out later in the week that he's practicing, it looked like he is practicing early on. Let's check it right now. He's on IR, so we won't get practice reports. But if he's activated by Friday and Saturday, I think if you need a QB2 in a super flex or a 2 QB league, I really like Tyrod Taylor in a deep dive. Let's jump to defensive streamers. Now, the obvious ones, a lot of people are on. The defense I picked up the most is the Saints. I like the Saints this week against the Atlanta Falcons. No Calvin Ridley. You got the dominance up front. I just think that they're going to get after Matt Ryan, force him into a bad situation. I think the Saints are my favorite defense, so if you can still get them, go get them. The other team is the Dallas Cowboys against the Denver Broncos. Teddy B just doesn't scare me. I just think that the Dallas Cowboys defense has been very opportunistic this season, and I think that they can definitely get to Teddy B. Teddy B's been, some turnovers here and there, and he's also been able to get sacked a few times, so I think Dallas is also a defense that I like a lot, but those are more well-owned. Here's my deep names, and one of them scary. It's the Green Bay Packers against the Kansas City Chiefs. Makes no sense, but I thought the same thing a couple weeks ago about the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans, held them to 3 points. The Giants defense recently held them down. This isn't the same Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is taking a lot more risks, which is leading to a lot more interceptions and turnovers, and the Green Bay Packers defense is playing better lately. So I think the Packers DST, if you're really desperate, could be and I think for DFS, no one's going to have the Packers against Kansas City, right? So we'll see how that goes. And the other one's Vegas against the Giants. The Giants are extremely banged up at the skill positions. Barkley is now on COVID list, so he's probably not going to play. So the Raiders coming off their bye is another solid, deeper name. Now let's get to why you're all here, and that's the kicker. And I know everyone's here for kickers. So if you haven't been following the kicker analysis on the Sunday live show, we've been hot lately. But the one guy that really stood out in my analysis is Michael Badgley. Now he's the Colts kicker. He's filling in for Rodrigo Blankenship, and we can't wait for Rodrigo to get back because he's the kicker poster boy. But I think Michael Badgley is someone that I like a lot this week. I have picked him up in all my leagues. Let's get some Michael Badgley on short week. The Colts are in a dome, playing at home against a Jets defense that does allow a lot of production to kickers this year. So I do like Michael Badgley. Daniel Carlson, if you don't like getting real crazy with your kickers and you want somebody more popular, Daniel Carlson, he's been dropped in a lot of leagues because the Raiders were on bye. A lot of people don't go back and pick up Daniel Carlson. He could be on waivers. You can pick up Carlson and play him this week. He has a solid matchup. Nick Folk is still not picked up in most leagues. He's available in a third of leagues. The guy's been red hot. And the offense that he plays with is the best for kickers because they don't have like a dominant red zone threat. If they can't run the ball in with Damian Harris, Mac Jones is not really dominating with Hunter Henry and company. So I think that, Nick Folk, if you could get him, is another good one. Randy Bullock and Jake Elliott are my other two kickers. So I think Michael Badgley should be available. If you can't get Badgley, and that's a thing, and if you don't want to play Badgley, other guys I like this week are Randy Bullock and Jake Elliott. All right, folks, that's it. Before I go, I got some comments in here. Let's see what the guys are saying. Let's see what we got in here, folks. Oh, we got some great names. We got some regulars here. What's up, fellas? All right. First of all, let's take a quick question from Moreno. Would you trade Keenan Allen for Chubb? Yes. Go get Nick Chubb. Everyone out here in the world, please go get Nick Chubb. He's going to be awesome. Sky and I are actually planning a rest of season preview next week. So next week, stay tuned to trade deadline preview. Best rest of season schedule. We'll talk through this, but go get Nick Chubb. Absolutely. Tim Westby. Hey, Tim. Hi, David. Hi. Well, it's just I'm not David Johnson. It sounds like hi, David Johnson. A total bust last week. Need an RB for a 2-point PPR. David Johnson was a total bust. Yeah, he was really bad. And he's in a 4-way committee. I want to tell you. Tim does not know if CMC and CH will be back. CMC is a maybe. CH is a no. I have Freeman, Ingram, Bolden, or some other long shot. Adrian Peterson, Jeremy McNichols are the guys that probably make the most sense. Waivers probably ran in your league, but in a 2 PPR, Jeremy McNichols is not terrible. But I think Adrian Peterson is going to be fine, man. I think he's going to be good. He's gunning. I talked about this yesterday. He's not anywhere close to Emmitt Smith, but he's about like 500 yards behind. I want to say it's Barry Sanders for number 4 all time. I think he's gunning for it. And I think Adrian Peterson's proven that he can play well into his 30s. He's going to be fresh. And when he gets the ball, he does catch passes. I think the Titans game against the the Titans are playing the Rams, right? Why am I blanking? I got some. Oh yeah, the Rams. Sorry, Titans are playing the Rams, so I think that McNichols and that combo could be decent this week. So if you need deeper names, Tim, go there. Deacon, what's up? Hey Bob. Hey Deacon. Would you prefer Gaskin or Boston Scott, the RB2 this week? Interesting question. Dolphins are playing. Let me check my analysis here. The Dolphins are playing against the Texans. Oh, wow. Okay. That's fun. Houston is actually a good matchup for running games. I would go Gaskin. I think the Gaskin is getting you about 12, 15 carries. No Malcolm Brown. I'm going to lean Gaskin. I think he's going to be good. Houston's a very good run game matchup, and he's been getting about consistently 12 to 15 carries since the Brown injury. Thank you, Deacon. Oh, Beach. Come here now, Beach. 89. Always a pleasure, sir. What do you like Tua to Jazicki this week? We got this same game against Houston. Yeah, I mean, Houston. Jazicki took a big back seat, though, because of Parker. I don't know if Tua is going to really support 3 really consistent pass catchers, but what's your other options, man? I mean, Jazicki to me against Houston's not a bad matchup. I'm not fading Jazicki this week, but let us know your options, and we'll talk through them. Maybe you can get to us on Sunday Live, Beach. Appreciate you, man. Another question. Would you start Renfrow over Pittman this week? I know Buck would. Buck would definitely start Renfrow over Pittman. Let's see. We have the Raiders. Let's just do it right now. We're going to do it right now. Okay, I got the analysis up. We have the Raiders. Let's see. Raiders are playing the Giants, of course. Duh. Sorry, folks on the podcast side. I'm answering questions from Beach. Let's see. We have the Giants over the last 5 weeks have allowed, let's say, Wow, they've allowed the most slot points. Oh, yeah. Get some Renfro in your life. Over the last 5 weeks, the Giants have allowed the most slot points in the NFL. There you go, folks. Hunter Renfro over Pittman. Get it done. All right. Jazicki or Conklin? Let's see. You know what? I'm here. I got all the time in the world. I'm gonna actually take a look at my analysis. Let's see. Jazicki or Conklin. Houston is 8th in my metric. Baltimore 7th. I think it's a coin flip, man. I think you're good. I think you can do whatever you want there. I'm gonna go. That's a good one. I'm going to go Conklin, slightly ahead of Jazicki, but I like them both. Adrian Peterson, McNichols. I'm just going in on Peterson. So the Bengals, this is something I'm going to bring to my Saturday show. So make sure, Moreno, make sure you're joining me on my Saturday show this week, because what I'm going to look at is the Tennessee Titans run game without Derrick Henry. So the offensive line, everyone who knows my matchup article, I talk about adjusted line yards, which is just strictly the offensive line. The Titans are very good. I want to see what the Washington football team and the Lions were previous years, because he's running around behind a top 10 offensive run game line. I think Adrian Peterson is going to be solid. The question comes, can he get you 2 catches for 15 yards when he gets you the 15 for 60, but then he gets you 2 catches for another 20 yards or 15 yards, and now his baseline becomes 9-ish, maybe 10, and then when he gets to the end zone, he's a solid RB2. That becomes the real question for AP, but I do think AP is going to be a solid play. Beach, Mike Evans or for Justin Jefferson, straight up. I don't have rest of season rankings in front of me, Beach. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm going to say keep Justin Jefferson. So I'm going to oh, you want Mike Evans for yes, go get Justin Jefferson. Concerned about unvaccinated Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, he won't play this week. So, yeah, I am concerned for Devontae Adams. I'm concerned for Aaron Jones. Kansas City's defense is not good, but at the same time, we'll see what Jordan Love. It's been the year of the backup quarterback, so maybe Jordan Love comes out and balls. Aaron Rodgers will not play this week. All right, Luke. One last one. We're going to do Luke's question here. Hey, Luke. Kirk, Renfro, or Bateman? Oh, Renfro. We just went over this. Renfro has a dominant matchup against the Giants in the slot this week. Let's go Renfro and half-point PPR. All right, DeRozan, last one, buddy. Half-point PPR, McNichols, Dillon, or Freeman. You know, the Dillon situation is not as advantageous because of the Rodgers news. Freeman, who knows? I mean, it could be Lat Murray. It could be, who knows what the situation is going to be. So I guess the Titans are playing the Rams. The Rams are going to be able to put up points. Let's go McNichols and half-point PPR. All right, folks, that's all we got for today. This is episode 400 and something. Sky will tell you later of the fantasy football, fantasy focus. Jesus, guys. It's been a long day. These solo pods make me lose my mind. I'm Bobby LaMarco. This is the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast. These episodes and all these episodes are brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network, and they are brought to you by BetOnline AG. This is on the Fantasy Focus YouTube channel. Guys, I appreciate you. Make sure you're joining us every Sunday live, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern for our Sunday Live Start Shit Show. Brought to you by Good Sports, our sponsor. Thanks, guys, for joining me again. I'm Bobby LaMarco. He's Bobby LaMarco. We are